Okay, so the negative space of the same curtain wall is going to be another curtain wall. So we're going to go to the first floor composite. I'm going to say again wall. I'm going to duplicate the default curtain wall one. So I'm going to say edit type, duplicate, and this is going to be curtain wall lab because it's inserted into the lab. So I'm not going to change anything because I'm going to place the grids and the mullions one by one a bit more strategically. Okay, I'm going to say OK, and I'm going to go from the first floor. I'm going to go to the top of the parapet as well. It's going to obviously tell me that there's two things in the exact same place. Space bar there, but that's what I want. We'll see why in a second. And why didn't say? Let's see why not. We should have said probably in your, you have actually the curtain wall there together with a concrete curtain wall there. So at this point we need to select the curtain wall of the glass. Let's see. You need to make sure that what you select is not the precast concrete. So you could even, let me see, curtain wall lab, edit type, no sorry, edit profile. And we need to extract the lines from the curtain wall. So I'm going to get out of the shaded mode. It's not so fun now. And you can pick lines in 3D as well in Revit with no problem. So you can say pick lines. You get that center line. You see? There you go. You make sure that all the small panels also are selected. So you keep on growing your selection all around until you can match that same perimeter line. I'm recording just a second. Okay. So I think you already see where I'm going. If I select the inverse of the previous selection, I can very easily have in one of the parts. By the way, be careful with selecting by mistake. You have to make sure you select the proper lines that you need at the specific moment. So there you go. And again, the idea of picking in 3D is also quite powerful in Revit. So I encourage you guys to do that. Another thing we could have done is just hide everything except the concrete panels. To have an easier selection. Okay, so a little bit of cleaning. So things are good. Now we can start splitting different elements the same way we did before to make sure we collect only the polylines that are around the specific curtain wall areas that we want to create. No? So for example, all these ones need to be deleted and these ones adjust. There we go. And last, here we go. I think it's going to tell us if there's any mistake. So no, good, shaded. So again, we have curtain wall in one of the parts of the facade, and we have concrete panels that we can tag. We can get the area of each of them independently, and we can embed windows, etc., etc. So I think that's a great tool to have that kind of a combination of the two facades in the same one at the same time. So I would recommend, obviously, functionally, we need probably light in some areas, but imagine you want to have some areas with small windows in this floor and a bigger kind of a gesture in other floors. But it's very easy to start placing different fixed windows into the curtain wall panels. No? And here's one thing that normally happens with this system. It's a little bit, as I said before, a little bit tricky. If you place it exactly where two panels match, you're going to get this mistake, which is the window does not understand both panels. But there's a way to solve that very easily. Just place a window where 4 panels connect at the same time, and then you move it up whatever you want. It's a little like this is a totally trick that, solves the problem, the bug, I guess. So you can place a bit more like, interesting organization of windows and change. You could feel free to, to do your own kind of a rhythm or whatever you want to declare. Just probably play around with different sizes and different components. And again, you go to the where 4 meet. You can leave it there as well. Okay. Now for the curtain wall, the glass curtain wall, we can start placing, as we did many other times, we can start placing grids, and we can start placing mullions. So I'm going to do a very fast sample, and then I will do it more. So I'm going to go to the hidden line and go to grid, curtain grids, and obviously the problem here is to what curtain grid is going to place it, either to the bottom, to the top, etc. So what I will do is actually tab and select the concrete curtain wall and hide it for momentarily. So you can just hide element, and you can just start placing curtain grids freely. Now where would you place them? I guess it's a good question. You probably want to hide all those columns that are right behind, those empty spaces that the partitions are gathering. As you can see in our example right here in our own facade of this building, you have a different panel behind those partitions than you have here when you have a transparent panel. So the placement of the grids will relate to these issues. You could be very, very technically or very precise just by going to the elevation and placing those grids a bit more, again, numerically. So again, let me do a couple of tests. Let me hide this. And you can say current grid, and you place the grids. Make sure it's actually in the glass grid. There you go. So you can copy them as well. Just really CO and copy, or you can just keep on placing grids, and it's telling you the different dimensions. You can see 7 feet from one to another, 13 feet. So you can be very usually precise within your placement. 13 feet, 7 feet, 13, 7. Remember that it depends on how much you're scrolling in and out, that kind of a measure changes as well. It's telling you different dimensions there. So 7. And remember that you can also move it freely with no problem. Okay, go to the 3D here, and there you have the grids. What you will do now is get the mullions, press mullions, and say, for example, all grids. Make sure that you want the type of mullion that you want, 2.5 by 5, and select the entire thing, and there you have your mullions. Let me turn on everything here. Now obviously the panels are the same, but we do have the mullions. We probably need also horizontal mullions. I will do it right after, but you can now start selecting the panels that we did before and change those panels to be, instead of a glazed panel, to be a solid in aluminum or a yellow solid panels, which is pretty much did before, or solid and duplicate and create your own colorful panel. No? I probably need obviously horizontal grids also for this the glass screen. So for that I'm going to go back to the elevation, curtain grid, and I'll place a couple of them. Good. Again, mullions, all grids, select. They all come with a mullion, and now I can tap to select the panels that I want them to be opaque and make them, for example, aluminium. You can select several of them. If you're a bit more careful, you can make sure that you select the mullions, sorry, the panels. One by one. Sometimes a bit more tricky. Let's change those to aluminium. To aluminium. Obviously, this partition should be like now adjusted to the real dimension should be. I think it's 6th floor. So that would be a not view. 6th floor. And you just need to somehow adjust this connection properly. It will connect better, obviously, to the concrete walls than the curtain wall. Okay. So again, we're kind of at hiding all those elements that are normally supposed to be hidden in a behind a curtain wall, but still we have those openings. We will probably need another curtain grid here to close this area, etc., etc. So it would be a matter of now very simply selecting the different panels. And change them to aluminium. That would be glass, of course. Okay, so once you're done with this, it's as simple as going to the top floor, or actually to the 3D top view. And I mean, you can do them differently, but I think it's just way too much. So what I would do is select the entire facade. Make sure you only select walls here, curtain walls, and curtain panels, and windows. And you do the mirror so you have them exactly on the other side. So in that sense would be draw a mirror and you get the entire other element. This one is being copied, that's why it's going to take a bit longer. But then you can do a mirror Okay, I think I left here a wall which, let's see how this looks. There you go. So you can have that one. What you could do is a mirror of this one and not copy it according to this, in relation to this axis. So you have a different facade out of the same one. So it would be a matter of making this one probably a bit more simple, or just the same process with the continuation of these cuts, which I could actually try to do it very fast, one of these cuts now in a second.